are so excited to join you all and welcome you for this virtual experience with Dracula's Castle. This virtual experience is part of the Festival of Fright scare-a-thon, as I mentioned, and since people are still joining us, I'll just take one moment to share some logistical information about what to expect and how to use Zoom. First of all, if you have any questions for Greg at Dracula's Castle, you can submit them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get to some of those at the end of the session. You can also vote on your favorite questions there to make sure we get to the best questions at the end of the session. This is a Zoom webinar, so your camera won't be on, but you can still communicate with your fellow attendees and with us. You want to do that by using the chat function. And in the chat function, select all panelists and attendees. If it's just all panelists, only I'll see it, and I love that, but you probably want the other attendees to see it as well. So select all panelists and attendees to send your message. I encourage you, I see many of you are joining, saying where you're joining us from today. Please continue to do that. I also would personally love to hear about any of your Halloween costumes that you're wearing tonight or tomorrow, so we can all get to know each other a little bit tonight. Finally, this presentation is being recorded and we'll send the recording to all registrants in the following weeks. So do keep a lookout for that. It'll also be on our Facebook Live as soon as this is over. It's actually streaming now there as well. So it's a little less interactive, but you can recap that and watch that tomorrow with someone who wants Halloween plans who didn't hear about this quite in time. So without further ado, I know we're all eager to get to the main attraction tonight. So I'm going to pass it over to Greg, who is going to transport us all to Romania for this private evening tour of Dracula's Castle.
I have to pause for a minute. Can I go now?
Yes, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Grigore. Well, like everybody know that under the name of Dracula's Castle. Tour is approximately an hour. And once we're done with that, we'll have a nice little wine and cheese tasting here in Royal Living Room. Now, we met just half an hour ago downstairs. We walked through a little gate. Once we did that, we stepped into no man's land. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the expression. I need you guys to do one step forward. Now, if you look carefully here, no, not too much, not too much. I'm joking. Okay, now, this is Bram Castle, okay? The castle was built approximately 6.5 centuries ago on the border between two historical Romanian regions. You have here in the north, Transylvania. In the south, you have Wallachia, with the capital originally in Târgoviște. And then the man himself, Count Dracula, moved the capital of Wallachia from Târgoviște to Bucharest in 1459. And this became in 1918 the capital of the whole Romania. So today we're going to walk through Bran Castle, correct? It's not really a castle. It's an actual fortress built in 1377 by the King of Hungary at the time, Ludovic d'Anjou. Is this man right here? He has French and Spanish roots. He built it here to stop the Ottomans, the Turkish invasion to enter Europe. Now, right here, this place was not picked randomly. You see, Bran comes from a Slavic word brana, which means defensive wall or gates. Ladies and gentlemen, Bran Castle, for centuries, was the gate of Europe. It's so well positioned here, there was never sacked. Now, in 1920, 2 years after the First World War, Mayor of the city of Brașov, it's a small town 20 miles north from here, donated this complex to the Romanian royal family. Queen Mary, wife of the second German king of modern Romania, started restoring the building, which at the time was abandoned for over 100 years. Why is that? We'll talk about it later. So I'm going to need you guys to turn around and have a good look at this. What do you see on your left-hand side? You have Queen Mary. She wasn't Romanian like her husband. So her husband was German. She was British. She was born in Scotland and moved to Kent, just outside London. At the age of 17, she moved from Kent to Bucharest. A few years later, she married Ferdinand. The rest is history. It is believed to be the best queen that this country ever had. You guys agree? Maybe? All right. She died, as you can see, in 1938, quite young. She was only 63 years of age, in Sinaia in Pelișor Castle. She had 6 children, 3 girls and 3 boys. She finished her will a year before she passed in 1937, and she left this castle to the youngest of the three daughters, Princess Helen, right here. 10 years after her mother's death in 1948, communists took over the country, and what followed, we all know. We're not going to discuss about that today. Now, first communist prime minister, Petru Groza, he said that royals are a threat for national security, and they're all sent in exile. They spread all over Europe except her. She married one of her second cousins, a German prince, Anthony of Habsburg. They had 6 kids again, like her mother, but this time they had 2 boys and 4 girls. All 8 moved in America, just outside Boston. From Boston to Denver, Denver, New York. She actually died in 1991, just outside Philadelphia, in an Orthodox convent which she built in her lifetime. Now, she was married twice. Both her husbands died. 3 of the 6 kids passed. She had only 3 children survived. It's them 3. And by the way, they own the castle today. In 2006, Romanian government passed the castle from the government to the Archduke Dominic, the man with the blue blazer in the middle. 3 years later, in 2009, was reopened for the general public and never closed since, except 3 months this year from March to the end of May, for the obvious reasons, right? But everybody's here to hear stories about Count Dracula, correct? There you go. Now I'm going to need you guys to turn around and face these boards behind me. So, Vlad Tepes, that's how we call him. Tepes is the actual Romanian word for the impaler, right? That's what he's famous for. Now, the truth is, I'm going to need you guys to have a good look at this little board that I have with me, this little sketch. There are a lot of stories created around the name, on this character, Vlad Tepes, Dracula. Anybody knows where his name coming from or what Dracula means? Anybody knows? There you go, the Order of the Dragon. So now we are all familiar with the European Union, right? We're living at the moment. But it was an actual European Union, sort of, built, started more like it, in early 1400s, in 1408 exactly, by this man right here, Sigismund of Luxembourg. He actually put together all the Christian kings of Europe under one sword to fight successfully against the Ottoman invasion in Europe. Now, Dracula's family were actually part of, and this, ladies and gentlemen, was the symbol of that order. Now, each member, king member of this order, the Order of the Knights of the Dragon, received a banner with this symbol on it. So now, the dragon symbolizes the evil, the Ottomans, and the cross were the Christian kings slaying the dragon. Now, Dracula's father was actually one of the members of this Order of the Knights of the Dragon. When he traveled back to Bucharest from Nuremberg, people of the place, Wallachians, looking at the dragon, they thought they were looking at an image of a demon, and they called the man Dracul. Dracul, ladies and gentlemen, is the Romanian word for devil. And the nickname sticks, so for the rest of his life, he was called actually Vlad Dracul. Now, he had 4 boys. Vlad Dracula was the second born. And when he was born in Sighișoara, just 100 miles north from Bran Castle, in 1431, everybody called him Dracula or Dracula. Now, originally, the origin of his nickname, everybody thought that it would be sort of a derivation of his father's nickname, the devil, right? Dracula, the little devil or the son of the devil. But the truth is, Dracula, it's a combination of 2 Latin words, Dracus, Ula. Dracus is nothing else but the Latin word for dragon. Ula means anything, whatever you prefer, king, prince, ruler, leader. So the meaning of his name has nothing to do with the devil. The direct translation into English would be the dragon prince or the dragon king. So you see, the meaning of his name is actually quite strong, right? Now, Dracula's house, well, his birthplace was Sigishora, like I said, just 100 miles north. But Dracula's palace, one of them is Poenar, just about 60 miles southwest from here. And in Bucharest Old Town, we have ruins of Dracula's grandfather's castle, which is this man right here, Mircea cel Bătrân, Mircea the Wise Man. In the middle of the ruins, you can find a big bronze torso of the man himself. Now, this castle appeared for the first time in a movie in 1963. I'm sure everybody heard of Roman Polanski, the famous Hollywood director. Early 60s, they took a trip to Transylvania. He visited Bran Castle. He loved it. He traveled back to America, and then a couple of years later, he released sort of a comedy, Dance with the Vampires. The movie was released, and people went crazy. For about 50 years, tens of millions of tourists that came to visit Dracula's castle, right? Now we'll discuss a bit more about Dracula and how Bram Stoker, the actual man who made him famous worldwide, ended up talking about Vlad the Third, the Impaler Dracula, right? This way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the first floor of the castle. There are 2 more levels above our heads, plus the surveillance tower. Now, what do you have behind me? This was Queen Mary's apartment. Probably might sound strange. You're the main man in the castle. Probably, pick a room at the top floor, the one with the better view. The reason why Queen Mary picked the room at the first floor is actually quite simple. As you all know, back in the days, all over Europe, castles and fortresses did not have elevators. So how castles were divided usually? The ground floor was for the guards. First floor for the king and queen. The next level for children and their babysitters. And the top floors, 3, 4, 5, whatever, were for servants. Even though they had rooms with the better view, they were the ones that had to climb up and down the stairs every day. Now, Queen Mary, she just wanted to keep alive that tradition. As you all know, there are quite a few countries in Europe, like most Scandinavian countries. You have Spain, you have Holland, and of course, the British monarchy. Their kings and queens, until today, they do not sleep at the top floors of their castles. Only the first and second floor. They call them the noble levels. Now, I'll give you a minute to have a quick peek inside Queen's apartment. And what I'm going to ask you to do, once you get to the red road, on your right-hand side, you're going to see a wooden throne, especially made for the queen, in a typical Transylvanian Gothic style, 1500s. And the metal doors of Queen's apartment are the original doors of this fortress/castle from 1693. If you look carefully on the right and left-hand side of the door, you still can see carved in the doors the year when it was made. 16 on the left, 93 on the right-hand side. If you close the doors, you can see the year. So we're going to have a quick peek and take pictures, feel free, and then we'll continue our tour, please. Wow.
Aici nu e nimic de acolo. Mâna nu are Maria să fie. Asta foarte ok.
What you can see on your left-hand side, inside this glass box, it's one of Queen Mary's original dresses. Looks like a wedding dress. It was actually a classic 20s and 30s, you know, high society dress with a pedestal and everything. Don't ask me the cost. It is for us Romanians most definitely priceless. If you guys ready, we're gonna keep moving. We're gonna head up this way. Thank you. The children of the night are here. Right over here. Okay, now we made it into the Gothic room, by far the most important room in the whole castle. This is all the business happened, right? And you know, we discussed about it, the fact that this was no man's land, right? It was built right on the border between two historical Romanian regions. I'm sure you've been in Brașov, the city just 20 miles north from here. That city, once a year, in May, turned into a big marketplace. So imagine merchants from all over Europe, North Africa, Middle East, traveling to Brașov to sell their merchandise. Now, in order for everybody to enter Transylvania, they had to walk through the gate. And they'll step in this very room and they'll pay the castle keeper tax. Usually 3 to 5% from the value of their merchandise, paid in gold. Imagine the money that was involved here. Is the reason why Vlad Dracula, when he sacked Brașov in 1458, he took over the castle just for the money. So he can build a bigger army to fight successfully later on against the Turks, right? Now, you want to hear a creepy story? So tomorrow is Halloween, right? This castle usually stays open in the winter time until 4 p.m. Then it closes, and the next morning 9 a.m. and so on and so forth. Reopens at 9 a.m. and so on. On a Halloween night, they keep it open until midnight. So what they do for 11 years now, unfortunately this year is not going to happen for the obvious reasons, they organize a Halloween party. And they also organize an online contest, lottery. More like it, you know, the one that you guys joined in and you won it. By the way, congratulations for that again. Now, the winning couple is actually they get free tickets, plane tickets, free accommodation, nice little hotel in Brașov. And once they finish, you know, the visiting during the Halloween night at midnight, they close the gates. That couple is brought inside this very room. This table, beautiful setup, candlelight dinner, you know, obviously, you know, black roses, red wine, right? That's actually cool. Now, once you finish that, they remove the table, they bring here 2 coffins, they put them on that corner, and that couple will sleep in this very room on a Halloween night in coffins like vampires. It's actually quite cool. You can find online like little films about it. It's quite interesting though. Not this year, unfortunately. It's not going to happen again for the obvious reasons, but that's you know, the highlight of the Halloween party every year here at Dracula's Castle. Now, are you guys claustrophobic? It's really not that bad, I promise, okay? Let's have a look here. Now, we are inside the yellow room, one of Queen Mary's favorite part of the castles. By the end of her life, she used to hang out here and paint. She loved art in any of its forms. We'll discuss more about it. It's upstairs, the third floor. And as you all know, medieval castles and fortresses, they all have their secret tunnels and passages. This castle, above the ground floor, has two secret passages. One is right behind me. Well, it's really not that secret, right? You have the door behind the door, the staircase. It'll take us from the first straight to the third floor. Now, what makes it secret, this is the cool part though, is that before Queen Mary started restoring the castle in the 20s, that door wasn't there. I'm going to need you to imagine a blank wall. Now, somebody during the restoration, hammering a nail on the wall, probably to hang a frame, they heard a hollow. That's how they found the tunnel. They pierced the wall and they put a door there. Now, the entrance, the secret passage before the door was open, was through that small fireplace. You see, today, the average height across Europe is maybe 175, right? 5 feet approximately. Back then, we were extremely short, 160 to 165. So people could actually fit in quite okay. They'll crawl through the tunnel to the bottom of the stairs, be able to stand up and shoot up to the third floor. And there are two exits, one on a wooden ladder up to the eastern tower, and another one through a secret door into what we call today Queen Mary's music room. Okay, so we're going to head upstairs. Now, when it gets to the top of the stairs, the door is really, really tiny. Even yourself, young lady, you will have to duck. But what do you guys do? The walls are really thick. Once you duck, do 2 steps before you stand up. If you do only 1 step, you bump your head, you don't want to hurt yourselves, okay? So, up this way, thank you. Uh-huh. Here we are. Now we are in the biggest room of the castle, the music room. If you look behind you, you can see a painting of Queen Mary holding her youngest daughter, Princess Helen. Remember the one from downstairs? By the end of her life, she gave up on politics and she turned to art. She learned how to paint, how to work with clay and bronze. Used to do like little sculptures, and she played 3 different instruments. Her favorite one, ladies and gentlemen, is that piano, especially made for the Queen in Dresden, Germany today. Now, if you have a 5-lay note, you've all seen one, right? If you look on the back of it, what is the name of the man on the back of the 5-lay note? He's Romania's greatest musician, George Enescu. That's why I had a fiddle next to his face and the music symbols everywhere. He was contemporary with the Queen, and guess what? He was Queen Mary's music teacher. Now try to imagine for a second both of them sitting in front of the piano playing, right? And just before 5 p.m., they'll join together on their corner by the fireplace and have a nice little cup of tea. Remember, I said she was born in the UK? You know, the legendary the British 5 o'clock tea. She never gave up on that. You know, she was really attached to her roots, right? Now, do you guys like Christmas? Do you have a favorite Christmas movie? Mine is Die Hard. What is a Christmas movie? You know, It's a Wonderful Life. It's a pretty old one from 1946 with James Stewart. You know, in the movie, it's an angel, Clarence, you know, following the man the whole movie, and with a little bell. So like every time I ring this bell, an angel will get his wings. Well, that idea came way before, you know, James Stewart released the movie. Queen Mary, she brought in this very castle a bell that today we use it in church, in Orthodox churches. She hanged it on the ceiling of their little balcony or loggia. Legend says that if you ring that bell, you'll give wings to an angel. Would you like to give wings to an angel? Yeah. Now, before we step on that balcony, do you guys go to church often? Every now and again? You know, priests, they have that incense burner made of silver or bronze, you know, that leaves that, you know, trail of smoke swinging back and forth, walking down the aisle. That, you know, makes a lot of smoke. Imagine that one over there. That was specially made for the Queen in Palermo, Sicily. Now, when that was filled with incense and they lit them up, this place must have looked like a discotheque. It was actually good for the Halloween night. Here we are. This is the loggia that I will discuss about it before. And that's the bell. So if you like to give wings to an angel, just ring that bell over there. Let's see. Go for it. No. Just grab it from the bottom and shake it. Done. Stop for a second now, please. Look at me. Nothing? I'll try again then. Okay. Now, if you guys look inside the courtyard, from here you can see the round tower on your left-hand side. That was the gunpowder tower. Now imagine a scene from the spring of 1827. One of the guards, after he finished his turn, he got a bit tired. And if you look carefully on the bottom, right there where the pumpkin is, there are 3 steps, you see? He sat on top of that set of stairs, and he lit up a cigarette on the foot of the gunpowder tower. What happened? What followed? You can only imagine. Kaboom. It took him over 100 years to finish that corner over there. Technically, when Queen Mary started restoring the castle in the 1920s, that corner was not finished yet. All right. There we go. The young man is giving himself wings. All right, we're off this way, guys. Thank you. This is the last set of stairs going up. Thank you. Here we are, everybody. I'm going to need you guys to get around because what I'm going to tell you next is really important, you know, for the economy of the whole tour today. We'll discuss about the fact downstairs that, you know, the man who made famous worldwide Count Dracula was Bram Stoker. You probably know he never set foot in Transylvania. the closest I ever got to Transylvania was Budapest, the capital city of the country next door. Now, Bram Stoker, he was born in Ireland, Dublin, right? And he started to be a lawyer. A couple of years in, he decided to move from Dublin to Vienna to finish the studies, which at the time was by far the most prestigious law school in Europe. Now, the night before he traveled to Vienna, he gathered his friends. You know, they went out for a couple of beers. You don't understand, a bunch of Irish around the table, they're not going to stop the 2 beers. But in the night, they actually made some sort of a pub crawl thing. Now, he had, during his, university time, he was writing a couple of articles for different magazines and newspapers in Dublin. He had a couple of books they released, but not very good. And a lot of his friends were making fun of him, comparing him to Mary Shelley, which at the time was the most successful writer in the UK. He's the same author who wrote Frankenstein, right? By the end of the night, he got so mad that he stood up and he said, everybody at the table, I bet you all that I'm going to write a better and the most successful horror book than Mary Shelley. The next morning, he woke up with a massive headache and he realized what he did. He had no idea what he was going to do now. So, traveled to Vienna for the next 6-7 months. He had no idea what, the next step is going to be. Luckily for him, he bumped into this Hungarian historian by his name Arminius. He was teaching history at university, that he was studying law. They had a chat, the bet came up, and the man said, don't worry, I got you covered. So they both took a trip to Budapest, went to the National Library in the capital city of Hungary, and the Hungarian man came with a bunch of books about the life of the Wallachian king Vlad Dracula. Put it in front of him, so like, now, study this. This is your man. 7 years later, in 1897, the book was released. The rest is history. 25 years after the book was released, in 1922, the first vampire movie was released. Now, a German director by his name, Murnau, he read Bram Stoker's Dracula, and he said, this is awesome. And in 1922, the man released the first vampire movie. Anybody knows the name of it? Nosferatu. It's a movie in black and white, silent movie. The next 4 rooms are really tiny. So what I'm going to do now, we can't stop there because, we have to keep a certain distance between us. We're going to see in the first room here, on the left-hand side, a possessed Romanian centaur. I'm sure you never heard of or you've never seen it before. It's actually quite creepy. It's a 3D projection on the left-hand side wall. On the right-hand side wall, you have a nice little setup with yele. Right? The next room after, on the west wall, you're going to see a massive projection of the first vampire movie, Nosferatu, just about 30 seconds, right? And then here, right beneath the surveillance tower, you have a room with Vlad Dracula's family tree. You guys have a quick look, and they're going to meet again downstairs at the first floor next to King's apartment, and we'll continue our tour, okay? I'll be right next to you, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Let's step inside the first room right here. For the rest of you outsides, you're watching the live transmission right now. Here we are. Here on the right-hand side, you can see Yelle. This actually goes back to Middle Ages. We call them the ladies of the forest. They usually travel alone. I remember when I was a kid, stories that my grandfather used to tell me that they will attack lone travelers or shepherds, especially up in the mountains. Yelle will be actually quite interesting. It will be the top bit will be human, and the bottom part the legs of a fawn. And if you see, usually, you know, travelers will recognize them just looking under their white dress. On the left-hand side, you have a 3D projection on the wall with the death and the scythe. That's actually quite common in pretty much all European folklore mythologies. And if you look on the wall, just on the west wall of this room, you can see it's actually quite rare, the Romanians possessed centaur. Moving on. This room we have on the east wall, we have a projection of a ghost, very Halloweeny, and on the west wall you have just 30 seconds, a short bit from the first vampire movie Nosferatu. The actual actor got so much into the character that on his deathbed he asked specifically to be buried just like you see him in this very scene, with the same makeup and on the same coffin. Now be careful, look at this. The man is getting really angry. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first vampire movie. No. You need us to get out of the way. No? Yes. On your right hand side, you have a 3D projection of a werewolf, which are the natural enemies of the vampires. And right here, you have a Solomonar, it's like a Romanian wizard. You can actually see, if you like, a Romanian druid, right? You have a scene just on the east wall again. The next bit right here, we have the surveillance tower, and right here we have the family tree of the dragon kings, as we call them, or Vlad Dracula. If you look carefully, the man is actually blinking. Man himself is right over there, and Vlad Dracul is his father. We'll discuss about him downstairs. That's the man right there. Then you have the brothers, and then from there the rest of the family. If you look on the very top, on the top left corner, you have a man by his name Mihai Viteazul, the Burgess Posset, 1593, 1600s. In my opinion, he was the greatest king that Romanian historical regions ever had. Was actually one of Dracula's great-grandchildren. He was the man with supernatural powers. They say that on his quest against Turkish armies, the Turkish Empire, his weapon of choice was an axe which was holding on two hands. He was always fighting on the back of his horse. They say that in his prime, he could take on 200 people by himself, just like me. You don't believe me? Right. This way. Now, the top is really, really tiny. If you guys want to have a quick pic, feel free. And then just downstairs. It's a spiral staircase, now with you on the bottom, and we'll continue, okay? Just be careful, one step at a time. They're quite slippery. Let me hold your hand, madam. Let me help you. You're good? Okay. This is one of the 40-something fireplaces, chimneys built here in the castle during Queen Mary's reign in the 20s. This particular material was brought here from Delft, south of Holland, where we have today the second largest ceramic factory in Europe. This material is extremely rare today and very expensive. The man who helped the Queen to restore the castle was a Czech architect born in Germany, Karel Lehmann. He came with this fantastic idea. He knew about this particular factory and this material in Delft. He ordered tiles for 57 small chimneys. Unfortunately, he calculated wrong. He ended up building only 41. This is average size. The biggest one is actually in King's Upon. We're going to see in just a little bit. If you haven't been to Delft yet, it's just half an hour drive from Amsterdam. You should go and check it out. It's actually really, really nice. Here we are in Biedermeier room. Biedermeier was a German architect. I'm sure everybody heard of. He's actually quite familiar. Typical for his work are these flower motifs on ceilings, stools, tables, and chairs. We're going to step into a small room with armors and medieval costumes as well. I need everybody to get around me just for a second, and I'm going to ask you which one of you is the tallest in the party. You are the tallest? So which one of you is the tallest in the party? The tallest is you? What's your height? How tall are you?
180.
180. I'm gonna need you to come close to me here. Get close to the robe. And all of you have a good look at your friend and the armor behind her. And tell me now, what do you think? That armor is original or not?
Yes.
What do you think? You know, before we stepped inside that secret passage, I did say that back in the days, people were much shorter than the average height today, correct? You see your friend, she's 180. That armor is taller than her. But this is a replica though. The original armors were about your height, but they're extremely heavy. Imagine a full body armor could weigh close to 50 kilos, about 110 pounds. A knight wearing the armor on the back of a horse, he couldn't move. They need 5 or 6 people to help them to jump on the back of a horse and as many to jump off the horse. What you see in the movies, cavalry, riding horses in the battlefield, it never really happened. First of all, the horses had armor as well. They weighed about 70, 75 kilos. You have one original horse armor in Palace Castle in Sinaya. That's 74 kilos. You have the knight that weighs about 60 plus the armor about 45, 50. Usually the horses were actually quite big and often they collapse before it even gets to the battlefield. Okay. That was actually used during the tournaments, the armor on the left corner. But we're lucky enough today to get to see medieval weapons. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good look at these weapons on the wall right above the English shield. The big one in the middle is German. We call it Zweihanden or two-handed sword. I know, it's really big and it's actually quite heavy as well. Probably wonder how, imagine such short people to handle a weapon like that. It's like months, years of training, right? Nothing comes easy. The weapons on the right-hand side are Romanian. Actually, knight's sword, if you look carefully, just on the handle right there, you can see the Moldavian crest. You see the head of European bison. And these are the German on the left-hand side as well, on the flail. Now what do you have here? These shields, the one over there with the English lion, obviously is British. The pointed ones are Romanian, the round ones are German. And this right here is the crest of the city of Brașov that we mentioned a couple of times briefly on our tour today. This city was actually founded by the Germans, right, in the 13th century. And the original name of the city was Kronstadt, or the Crown City. This one and 6 other cities in Transylvania were actually built by the Germans in 12 and 1300. One of them is Brașov, another one is actually Sighișoara. The first name of Sighișoara was Salzburg. Sibiu as well, Hermannstadt, and so on and so forth. Is the reason why Germans, for about half millennia, they called this part of Romania not Transylvania, but Siebenbürgen land, the land of the 7 cities. Being kept until the end of the 17th century when Italians, they changed the name Transylvania from Siebenbürgen to Transylvania, and coming from Latin, Transsilve, or the land beyond the forest, right? Do you have German friends?
Yeah, actually we do.
There we go. Ask them when they come to travel, to visit this country, and I'm 100% sure they'll tell you they're not going to visit Transylvania. Until today, they call this part of Romania Siebenbürgen. In guidebooks, like if you go on a city break or, like Rick Steves books, stuff, they have not Transylvania, but Siebenbürgen until today. We're up this way, thank you. Now we're gonna exit on this balcony, we'll go around. We'll do a quick stop inside the torturing chambers. And then we're gonna wrap it up in the courtyard by the well. Now, we made it inside a torturing chambers. We have here a big collection of torturing objects from all over Europe put together by a Polish man. And it was good enough with us to bring them over here so everybody can see it, well, or not. The reason why they did that is because Dracula, excuse me, himself, you know, he was famous for killing and torturing people, you know, for years. His favorite torturing object was the pole, right? Anybody knows how the whole thing worked, how the impaling worked? It was actually quite cruel, I have to say. So prisoners will have their legs split as far as they could go. A really sharp hole will go through behind and pop out through your neck or your mouth. Now you see in the process, it will touch one of your internal organs and you'll die on the spot. But Dracula want to keep you alive for as long as possible. So he found a way through the digestive system. And the pole will pop off your mouth and it'll be stuck on that pole for hours and slowly bleed to death. You can see actually around you here, you have the throne on your left-hand side. You have the chastity belts on the other side. But the highlight of this room is this very object, the Virgin of Nuremberg, or more commonly known under the name of the Iron Maiden. Now, if you look inside this sarcophagus, you see here you have a bunch of blades. Usually they had only 10 sharp blades or nails. So when the prisoner will actually put inside the sarcophagus, they'll close the gates on him, and the blades or nails will pierce your body in 10 non-lethal parts, 2 in the eyes as well, and it'll be left bleed to death inside the sarcophagus. But the original name, like I said, is the Virgin of Nuremberg for a very simple reason. Here inside the sarcophagus, you had carved in a wood the face of Virgin Mary. That was the last thing you see before you die. That's where the name Virgin of Nuremberg is actually coming from. Here they actually put it on this side just to give you, just carve a face here on this side, okay? Now, if you guys want to have a quick pic here, just a minute, take a couple of pictures, and then we're going to go downstairs in the courtyard by the well, and we'll wrap it up there, okay? We're going to head downstairs. We're in the central courtyard here. This well was actually built just a couple of after they finished the fortress by the end of the 14th century. They're looking for water, but the man who picked this very spot and started digging was not the smartest man around here. The castle is built on top of a rock. It's a very unusual military fortress. They're digging and digging and digging. They went 59 meters deep in the ground without finding any water. So they decided to stop. Once they did that, the castle keeper came with a fantastic idea, and that helped people here to survive during the siege. It wasn't filling right away. They built an elevator all the way down the bottom, and then they start digging 2 tunnels heading south just through the gunpowder tower. This well was actually used as an escaping route for children and women when the place was under attack. Only men stayed behind to protect the fortress. Now, in 1960s, during the communist period, we will never really find out the real reason why. There are a couple of theories behind it. Apparently, just 20 miles west from here was a political prison in Codlea, built by Ceausescu, the last Romanian communist dictator. Just by the end of the 60s, a couple of prisoners from Codlea escaped. One of them was from Bran, and he knew about the tunnel down there. So he ran into the castle, went downstairs, and escaped the tunnels. The agents that followed the man down the bottom of the well, that's how they actually found the secret tunnels. Not knowing which of the two tunnels the young man picked, they came back up, they tossed dynamite, and the whole well crumbled. If you look today, so imagine the original well was almost 60 meters deep. Today is not even 3 meters. Today, people that walk through the castle to visit it, they're using it as a wishing well. So I'm gonna need you guys. Do you have a coin on you? Everybody has a coin? Grab a coin, young man. Come on over. Come on over and grab a coin. If you don't have a coin, just come and grab one. I still have a couple more. Everybody has a coin? You're good? One coin, right hand. Everybody with a coin, right hand. Just reaching just here on top of the well. Don't throw it just now. Close your eyes. Think of 6 numbers. Drop it. Drop it now. Excellent. Now, you go back home, you buy a lottery ticket, and by this time next week, you're millionaires. But remember, 10% is mine, okay? That's my cut. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the end of our tour this night. I hope you'll enjoy it. Our night is going to continue here. I hope people at home, they liked it as well. I made your pre-Halloween night just a bit better. Before we're going to finish the tour, I'd like to thank you all, for joining us tonight. You guys, again, thank you for joining our contest. A big thanks to Tiqets for helping us to, make this whole thing happen. And yeah, if anybody wants to actually do this tour, we have every night a night tour here inside Dracula's castle. We organize the Transylvanian Wonders together with tickets.com, of course. And, we're in the pandemic times right now. It's actually quite difficult to travel, but it's in the safest possible way, social distancing, and of course, super private tours. Thank you again, and happy Halloween to everybody.